Hey, what's up? Houston here, still in San Francisco. And today, man, it is cold. All right, it's cold. And I was going to walk around, but right now it's just too cold. But I wanted to answer the question a lot of people were asking, why are they getting denied a bad credit loan when they have bad credit? Okay. Now, here's the thing about it. A lot of the lenders I talk about, they're not focused on the credit score. However, there's a couple of reasons why you're getting denied, and I'm going to tell you some of the best lenders you have a possible chance of approval, especially when you're trying to look for like $35,000, $50,000 loans and stuff like that. Then there's some things that you need to understand, and it ain't about the credit score. All right. So what's happening is that when you go to your traditional bank or credit union, it's because of your DTI. Your debt to income ratio is over 55%. Okay. And so like even people with perfect credit scores of an 800, they still get denied from their banks and credit union because their DTI is too high. So because you have bad credit, don't think it's just that thing alone, right? The credit score has nothing to do with the credit score most of the time. Now, here's the things. That credit bureau that they're actually looking at, all right? Here's two hidden credit bureaus that people are not aware of when you're trying to get these bad credit loans, especially $35,000, $50,000, okay? One is Innovis. Number two is LexisNexis, okay? And the reason this is so important for you to know is because they're the ones that's holding all your old data, right? So they're holding all your old data. And what I mean by that is that you may have moved around, you may have gotten married, you may have changed your name, something like that, right? So LexisNexis and Innovis, they have all this old data about you. And so with these here new credit AI systems, that's what they're relying on to be able to get you approved. That's the reason why you may get an instant denial, okay? So having nothing to do with the credit score. So number two, again, is the income. So I always tell people, with you looking at a $35,000, $50,000 loan, you're not trying to go in there with like less than $45,000 or more, okay? Most of the time, they wanted you to have at least $60,000, $65,000. Those are the income metrics that they're actually looking at to get you approved, all right? That being said, active checking account, okay? So granted that these here lenders, they don't care nothing about you being in check systems or early warning systems. They don't care about that stuff. They do care about you having an active checking account with regular deposits. So like, let's look at Achieve, all right? So with Achieve, their situation, they work with a 640 credit score, all right? Now, DTI is 70%. The credit file has to be at least 3 years old. Now, here's the interesting thing about it. Guess what? They look at a 10T, a FICO score 10T, right? So this is something that a lot of people are not even aware of. A lot of people don't even know that they have a trending score, a 10T FICO trending score. So you see what I mean? It's not all of them with the same data points. Also the region that you're applying in, or the state you're applying in. All these loans don't apply to the same state, right? So that's also something. All these lenders don't service the same states. So that could be an instant denial for you right there. Now, let's talk about something. Let's talk about Avant. You hear me talk about Avant a lot, right? And so with Avant, they want you to have minimum credit score of a 550, minimum income of 1,200. DTI is 70%, right? Okay, so let's just say you came out of a bankruptcy, a recent bankruptcy. They're not going to touch you, okay? The bankruptcy is too early, so they're not going to touch you. So that's another reason why you may get denied. You may have just came out of a bankruptcy and you may have a good job, good income, but because you recently came out of a bankruptcy, they're not going to touch you. All right? So then let's look at universal credit. Okay? So with universal credit, a 560 credit score, right? The credit file has to be at least 2 years old. Now, a lot of people are having these credit sweeps done. So what happens when you have a credit sweep done, a lot of these people, they're sweeping the positive accounts off along with the negative accounts. So then you have to start over fresh. And so what's the fastest way for you to age your credit file so that you can get that 2-year history or more back? You have to add on an authorized user. You have to add on rental payments, right? So you have to add these things back onto your credit file to start rebuilding the credit, right? Now, I would tell you, you have to be careful with some of the authorized users because they will give you a high trade limit. However, the history does not pass over. So this here can also create a challenge for you as well, right? So that by them doing that credit sweep, it kills the whole credit file. So you have to be very careful. When somebody fixing your credit, you have to ask them, hey, are you doing a credit sweep of everything or are you focusing only on the negative things, okay? But most people don't know how to do a credit sweep and just focus on the negative item. They focus on challenging everything. And so that's what ends up killing your file, all right? So that's something you have to look at. Then you have like upgrade. Okay, so with upgrade, you need a 600 credit score. Now the DTI is 75%. And you have to have a credit file but at least 3 years old, right? So you have to have these things. And again, all these lenders are not in all 50 states. So if they don't service that state, again, instant denial. So that's the reason why I tell you. And then again, going back to your traditional banks and credit union, they're not going to service you even with an 800 credit score and you have a high DTI. It's too much to manage. Now with these other creditors that I'm telling you about, the challenge with them, they may charge an origination fee. And sometimes that origination fee can go all the way up to 10%, right? So let's just say you get a $35,000 loan. So their origination fee may be 10%, so $3,500. So you have to ask yourself, am I okay with paying that 10% origination fee where the banks and credit unions won't charge you that origination fee? So there's so many metrics that go on. So even though you have bad credit and you're applying for a bad credit loan, that doesn't mean you're going to get approved. It's because of all of these other metrics, all right? So let's look at Reach Financial, 600 credit score, okay? 70% DTI, 3 years on the credit file, okay? So you have all of these metrics, but again, one of the biggest known metrics to get you denied is because of those second and third party financial credit bureaus that are actually pulling your information and they're reporting that back instead of the information that's matching up on the application. Okay, so you have to remember that if you just recently moved and you put in your new address on that application and you get an automatic denial, you may have to send them over proof to let them know, hey, this is my new address or whatever. Or you may have to even reach out to the third-party credit bureaus and so they can update that information, because you're going to keep getting denied because that information on the application. All right, so you will have a Reprise Financial. So with Reprise Financial, guess what? They only look at a 550 credit score. All right, so the minimum annual income for them, they says $30,000, right? Again, most of the time, a lot of these people are getting approved because their income, that they're stating their income is over $65,000, all right? So please understand, your income is going to play a bigger factor in terms of what you're getting approved for. All right. So I hope this video helps you. If you have any questions about business credit funding, personal credit funding, removing negative items off the credit, click the link in the description. Schedule a one-on-one consultation. Thank you.